Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are going over to TMNT for its newest video game, Splintered Fate. When this first dropped on the Apple Arcade, I raised a little bit of an eyebrow. Okay, a roguelike TMNT game? But it's on the phones, I'm good. And that was the end of the story there. Never looked up reviews, never was really interested in it. Then it was announced it was getting a Nintendo Switch port, and it's also coming to PC later this year. I thought, all right, well, you know what? I'll give it a chance when it comes out. Now, as the launch approached, I watched a couple of reviews for people who played it on the Apple Arcade, and they were loving this thing, saying it's one of the best ever TMNT games. I went, okay, maybe the standards have lowered a little bit, because this year, a game like this came out, TMNT Arcade Wrath of the Mutants, which, funny enough, is the same price as the game behind me. And that shocks me, because this game is the worst game of 2024. I hate it. And so it's so funny to get the worst of the bunch at the top of the year. And then here we are in July, getting what I truthfully feel is possibly the best ever Ninja Turtles game. And I know that's a strong statement, but you have to take an honest, objective look at the franchise and the state it's in to really see where I'm coming from. As someone who loves the Ninja Turtles and plays every single game that comes out of the franchise, yes, I have a lot of love for TMNT Turtles in Time. Of course, that's one of my favorite ever video games. Yes, I do love the 2003 tie-in video games, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're objectively great. But I have so many good memories with them. All these movie tie-in games, these show games, they've all been of a mediocre quality. Then comes along Shredder's Revenge, which I absolutely adore and have replayed dozens of times, but the reality is this. Shredder's Revenge is the modern day and age TMNT Turtles in Time. And for those fans who are like me, which I know are many out there, it was a little familiar, which wasn't a bad thing. I loved it. It was a top 10 game of the year for me when it came out. But TMNT Splintered Fate manages to keep the DNA of being a beat 'em up while actually evolving what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gameplay can be. And the tagline for this game has been TMNT Hades, and I went, hold up. I view Hades on a whole other level. If you pay attention during the Complete in Box section, you'll notice my desk mat is straight out of Hades. Like, I love that game. So when I heard people saying in pre-launch reviews, like, yeah, this literally is TMNT, but Hades, I went, hold up. Because not only does Hades get the whole roguelike thing properly, the gameplay elements, the progression, both permanently and temporarily, but also like how the story is delivered. But to my surprise, TMNT Splintered Fate has that too. And that has been one of the things I've asked for so long. It's why I rave about things like The Last Ronin, a mature story told in the TMNT universe. And as we enjoy this TMNT renaissance where we have a game coming out later this year in October that, while it's based on Mutant Mayhem, and I am not crazy about the turtle designs in both the game or the movie, I can be at least honest with myself and say, hey, this doesn't look all that bad. You get the Cowabunga collection, Shredder's Revenge. We have a Last Ronin game on the way. We're hearing rumors of like a Last Ronin movie. Like, the push for TMNT to make a major comeback in the 2020s is on. And as someone who's a diehard fan, I've been enjoying every second of it. But a game like Splintered Fate is so welcome at this point in time because it rethinks what the Ninja Turtles can be in video games. Let's start off with, yes, the story. For starters, a big thing for me with any part of the Ninja Turtles license is the character design. For example, I haven't watched the 2012 show, even though I know someone's going to say in the comments, Maddie, it's great. I'm going to get to it, but I hate the designs of the Turtles in that show. I'm also a big critic of the voice work in TMNT compared to pretty much anything else I love in the entertainment medium. Like, that is also extremely important for me. So again, things like the Mutant Mayhem movie, TMNT 2012, like, these do not click with me quite like maybe the original Ninja Turtles did. Or, of course, my favorite rendition being the 2003 Ninja Turtles, which I adore. One of my favorite renditions of the Ninja Turtles is from the comic books, the IDW comic books to be specifically. I love the shading technique, the more gritty look. It definitely falls more in line with my taste that you see in the 2003 rendition. It's stylish, but yet captures the grit of the Ninja Turtles, which originally were incredibly mature comic book characters before they got, I think, simmered down a bit in the mainstream media. So a story like this is interesting because Master Splinter has suddenly disappeared and the Ninja Turtles feel quite lost without him. Now, this is a storytelling trope you've seen before, but it's really interesting in the quiet moments of reflection on how this is handled. You'll go on a run and you'll lose to, say, Karai, and then you can have an opportunity to talk with Master Splinter afterwards.
The way Karai was teasing us after she beat us really got to me. I'm scared, Father.
My son, it is a brave and strong warrior who can admit his own fears and yet continue to battle forward.
But what if I can't? Battle forward, I mean.
You can, and you will, just as you always have. You need only believe in yourself as much as I believe in you.
Okay, Father. I promise I'll try my best. And Father?
Yes, Michelangelo?
I really miss you. Like, a lot.
I miss you too, my precious child.
And depending on what turtle you are, you're actually going to have a different conversation with Master Splinter. And it's super sincere, well written, like some of my favorite Ninja Turtle interactions I've seen in a video game ever. Like, I think a lot of Ninja Turtles media is built upon many assumptions, and even some in the best of ways. Like, I think of The Last Ronin. It's built upon the assumption that you're very familiar with how the Ninja Turtles are handled, because now there's only one remaining, and that immediately hits hard, because you always know it's these four dudes working together, and they all have their differences, but they find a way to get along and do the impossible. So sometimes it is for the better, but a lot of times they're like, yeah, Master Splinter, of course they love Master Splinter, but it's never really fully conveyed as to why. And so this game attempts to do that with these moments of solitude, really having these characters interact. So yeah, after your runs, you're going to see exclamation points above many characters' heads, some to unlock new mechanics, some to sort of reflect on where they're at in the story and what's going on and how they miss Master Splinter, or where's Casey Jones at. And other characters are going to appear in this lair. So you're going to get like Metalhead appearing in here. April, of course, is going to be in the lair, and so on and so forth. So gradually the family grows, as so does the mystery. The question is, like, is it Shredder behind this? If it is, then what is he doing? Like, where did Master Splinter go to? And completing runs in this game will, naturally, as you'd expect, grant you more and more narrative clues as to what's going on here. But this game is straight up addicting in that I think the narrative loop is very compelling, and that at the same time, the gameplay, of course, will speak for itself, and we'll get into that right now. So, as I mentioned, there's this balance between temporary and permanent progression in TMNT Splintered Fate, which is very similar to what you get in something like Hades. Now, in this game, you have things called Dragon Coins. These are the currency used for your permanent points of progression, your attack damage, your health points, your movement speed, your special attacks, your tool attacks, multiple lives and runs, how much health you respawn with when you do lose a life, and so on and so forth. All of this currency is gathered through completing rooms, killing bosses, sometimes selecting them as rewards at the end of rooms, sometimes looting them, and so on and so forth. Also, you have Dreamer Coins, which you can spend, which go into a whole different facet of the game. Your luck, the economy of the game, like how much scrap you get, which you can then spend on items at a storefront to get those temporary buffs during a really big run. So these two come together to create a level of permanence, and as you complete certain parts of the run, think of these a bit like achievements, like, oh, you completed the docks twice, you're going to have a character interaction, it's going to move the story forward a little bit, and you're going to unlock a new artifact that'll buff you a little bit more. Like, oh, you have a 10% chance of having a double select for a fire attack. And so when you select a fire attack and then it pops again, it's the best feeling ever. You're like, oh my God, I just got the double dip. And this game just has a really good grip on that feeling you get when you're playing a roguelike and you're like, oh man, I just got so much more powerful so easily. Like, this has to be the run. And so you dial in every single run. But it's not just the perks that we'll get into, it's also how the game feels different depending on the turtles you're playing as. Each has a different starting class, if you will. You have Michelangelo, who focuses mostly on multi-hits, so when he lands an attack, there's a percentage chance for that attack to proc again and do double damage effectively. He also focuses more on speed of attack, so you're going to really hammer away on enemies quickly, while Raphael is more of a short-range character who really focuses on burst crit damage. So every turtle has a basic attack, a special attack, and a tool attack as well as a dash. Now, the tool attack will vary. Like Donatello's allows him to have temporary invulnerability, and you can swap these out during the runs if you don't like these for something else. Like one point with Raphael, I had a meteor shower that was so busted. I got to the third area, barely made it there, but it was so effective, and it's that feeling of when you die, you're like, no, that was so useful. But then I unlocked the dream coins afterwards. I was like, okay, sweet, I got more buffs to use now. Now, while Donatello has immunity with his tool attacks, this works out really well because his attack speed is slow, but as you'd expect with the bow staff, he's got really long range. Leonardo, jack of all trades, he gets bonus damage when he finishes up a combo. He's got the shurikens. Like, he does a little bit of everything. And so all of them, I felt, were pretty different to play as, and you can definitely develop a favorite. I liked Raph because he could run down bosses really quickly if you played that right, but Michelangelo's speed worked really well for me when it came to wiping out rooms. Donatello felt the worst to me, but there were moments where I had a just crazy AoE, and it just didn't let anyone get near me, or his invulnerability was incredibly useful during really chaotic rooms, which happens frequently as you get deeper into the game. So it's not like Hades where you get tons of different weapons, but I think every turtle, just in their base form, feels different enough where you can develop a favorite, a preference of who you want to play for, and it's going to be encouraged to complete a run with each of these turtles, so you'll get familiar with each of them as you go along, and you'll definitely want to experiment, because what you'll learn as you go through these rooms, like with any great roguelike game, is how these buffs impact turtles in different ways. Since Raph is more crit chance based, I was really focusing on adrenaline upgrades. Adrenaline means that I will do more damage if I kill enemies quickly. So I'll get a percentage boost to my attack. So I'm going to rush down as many enemies as I can, and then combine that with like a rage bonus where when my health is below 50%, I do 35% more damage. So I actually want to stay in that range and just run down enemies constantly. That's the satisfaction of the build crafting in Splintered Fate. As you're going through all of these different rooms, you're eventually going to reach a storefront. It's there that you pause for a moment. You can talk and get a little bit of a story update. You'll also meet other characters kind of passing through. Like, they have some really interesting ones. Nobody, aka Angel, is here. Genghis is here, which the interaction with them is hilarious. Shopkeeper is super interesting. So you'll get really good conversations here. This is also where you'll spend scrap, which is your more run-specific currency, on things like extra powers, maybe recovering your health, maybe just getting a little bit of a bonus for the next room. I think this game does a really good job of giving you that choice paralysis mid-run of, which one do I want? And then having a mastery level increase where as you continue to invest in these powers, like when they get upgraded, oh, you feel it. Not just in numbers, because you can really stack some serious damage. Like I had Ooze, which was damage over time, at the same time as completing a combo where lightning would strike at nearby enemies. So anytime I finished the combo, I was applying damage over time stacks at the same time as just electrifying everyone around me. It's just incredible the things you can come up with here as you're going through a run. And then each room sometimes will have different hazards, and these hazards will be things like lightning storms. Sometimes things will work in your favor. You'll unlock a support system, and enemies will be attacked by your allies. Like they'll drop into fights and help you fight back, making some rooms a touch easier. Not complete overkill. I think the game also has really good damaging balance. Like you can really feel out in the first run that I can get pretty far in this. Like I got to the boss in the second area on my first run, but I thought to myself, well, maybe it's just kind of going easy on me. This is a TMNT game after all. But no, like, it was a struggle to get to some of those deeper rooms. You really had to have things clicking together, get those upgrades through the dragon coins especially, and go back at it. It also is great to see that there is multiplayer with this game. You can create a run, invite a friend, and do it together online. Like it's just awesome. Like I can't get over how great this game really is. As a Ninja Turtles fan for the first time in a while, I feel like I've been truly respected with a new forward-thinking product. And I know some people are going to just raise an eyebrow consistently because it sounds like I'm dragging Shredder's Revenge, but the reality is, as much as I do love that game, if I'm being objective about it, it completely leaned into the knowledge you have about Turtles in Time. It functions the same way. It's drawn up the same way. It progresses its story the same way. Like, it was a very familiar romp, albeit an amazing one, but I felt like I had done it before. The best thing I can say about TMNT Splintered Fate when it grabbed hold of me is because I've never played a TMNT game like this. It still has the beat 'em up nature that you know and love from these games. I don't think every Ninja Turtles game has to be beat 'em up, but I know it's a big part of the franchise DNA. but this is a way to evolve that and do something meaningful with it. I can't wait for this to come to other platforms, for people to check this thing out, because seriously, it is legitimately awesome. The only complaint I have is sometimes the frames drop very slightly, both in handheld and docked. And so that is something that could be a little bit better. But otherwise, it was not enough to take away from my otherwise flawless experience. Like, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. So yeah, if you're looking for a TMNT game and you got 30 bucks to spare, this is an easy pickup on the Nintendo Switch as far as I'm concerned. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of TMNT Splintered Fate down below. Have you already picked it up? Let me know your thoughts. And with that, I'll catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.